So, how do we start the week? Hmm, How do we not start every week with some insanity and chaos becoming the norm? Even Sheryl Crow is coming out with a new song called "The New Normal," and that's not good news. Um, for one, I'm still stuck on this issue with Bolsonaro, where the Trump of the tropics is being prosecuted for starting an insurrection. See, that's what you normally do in a normal, rational government. You prosecute people for committing crimes, not let them file all these frivolous motions and allow them to go before the Supreme Court to state that hypothetically the president does have the option of hiring SEAL Team 6 to go in there and kill a competitor. Yeah, that's the garbage that was being argued, and those lawyers or that lawyer never faced any sanctions. If I argued that gibberish in court, I'd be sanctioned, I'd be disbarred. But they gave the president the benefit of the doubt, delayed cases, ran for office, and ran out the clock. Not the case for Bolsonaro, which rightfully so. So, why is this an issue? Well, because we get coffee from Brazil, and President Trump is trying to control the prosecution of Bolsonaro. Now, has he gone to Brazil? No, he's tweeting away, all upset. But we have to pay more for coffee or any other of the products that we get from Brazil just because President Trump is not happy with the prosecution of a foreign leader? Why does that pertain? It doesn't pertain to us. Who cares? You should only care if you're Brazilian or if you buy coffee from Brazil. That's why I care. So the fact that our economic policies are being based on the prosecution of another individual, why I keep calling it a bromance. Even Lula da Silva said he is not the king of the world. He doesn't get to make these decisions. And yet, this is where we are. So it is insane, but that ought to give you an idea how these tariff policies are going into place. Now, Secretary of Commerce Lutnick said that August 1st is the hard deadline. That's it. They're now aiming for a 10% tariffs on everybody. That still doesn't make sense. There was a country, let me see if I wrote it here, if I have it written down. No, Lesoro, I think I forgot it. If I got it wrong, I'm sorry. I didn't write that down. But they're the ones where they're known as the denim capital of the world. Little tiny little country where they're making your Levi jeans and your Wranglers. And they're getting slammed with the tariffs. This has ended up in endless layoffs already. It's this town that basically that's the only thing that they manufacture or fabricate these fabrics, and so we're going to issue a 10% tariffs on them. See, the whole tariff thing, people think, oh, it's a trade imbalance. There's a trade imbalance for a reason. Does it make sense that I'm not happy buying something from another country, so I turn around and I think I'm paying too much, and I turn around and I give them a tariff to now pay more for the same thing? Of course, that doesn't make sense. There's a reason why there's trade imbalances. And if their country has 100 million in products that we buy from them, should we tariff that now because it's such a large imbalance? Do you know why there's an imbalance? Because 70% of our economy is based on consumption. So there's always going to be an imbalance. We don't make anything in reality. So, of course, there's going to be an imbalance. We consume, we buy. So that trade imbalance is always going to exist. So to go across the board and give everybody a 10% tariffs, maybe to some of the larger countries that would make sense. But these little countries makes zero sense. But that's where we are. That's where their policies are. And it gets better. I just wrote about, and I've been talking about the snowball effect. We got the heat dome that's coming over us. There's still a snowball effect with the heat dome. I've been talking over and over again about the snowball effect. That snowball is just going to go down the mountain and get bigger and bigger and bigger until it finally demolishes an entire town. What am I talking about now? Well, let's look at the solar industry or green energy and renewables. Solar panels have always been expensive. What kind of offsets that are the tax breaks that you get as a homeowner when a company comes in to install solar, or first they're trying to give you the pitch, they're giving you that spiel, right? Oh, but you get all these benefits and breaks and everything else, just like cars, which that's the issue with Elon Musk. He's going to lose those EV mandates. But it's a good way to save a few bucks. We could use solar, bring down our electric bill. help, this renewable energy, not producing more energy to cool down our homes. But the big beautiful deal gets rid of those renewable tax breaks. So you're going to see massive layoffs. We're seeing already in the solar panel industry. Those companies are going to shut down, and no one's going to get solar because they're not getting the tax break. Solar isn't free. It costs money to set that up, a lot of money. And that's why I've never done it. I might do what do you call it, the in-home generators. But what I don't like about that is it only works when your power goes out. So if I never get a hurricane for 5 years, then I never use it in 5 years. So that part bothers me. I'd rather have solar so I can continue to use a solar panel, the energy that's transferred to batteries, and use it at night. But it's going to cost a pretty penny. So it's not worth it to me financially to do solar panels. But that industry is going to get decimated. And think about the thousands of people that are going to lose jobs on that. And what makes solar? What is part of the process? You're going to have an aluminum frame, right? Well, guess what? Aluminum is up. Why? Because of the imports from Canada. Alcoa, probably the number one aluminum fabricator, paid 118 million in tariffs. And again, the tariffs, the government is on their propaganda page saying we've collected X amount in tariffs already. Yes, because Alcoa or the other company is paying that tariff when it comes in. And then when they turn back and they sell that aluminum to another company, they're going to add the tariffs to it. Now that company is going to say, well, we're paying for the tariff. So we got to pass it on eventually to me, to you. That's how tariffs work. That's how tariffs have always worked. And for those that are still convinced that tariffs are a great deal or a great idea, why don't you look up what caused the Great Depression and all these ideas of isolationism? And now that we live in a global economy, even more so. So this snowball effect continues with everything. We're even seeing it now with the National Park Services when I had the fork in the road email from Doge, which accomplished nothing. I need to come up with an acronym for Doge on how inefficient they were. What happened? 5,000 employees at National Park Service. The writing was on the wall, picked up and left. So now we have the firefighters out there trying to put out the forest fires. And who's cleaning the bathrooms at these parks? Firefighters. Yeah, because there's no one else available to do it. I haven't gone to a national park in a while. Hopefully, I don't even know. I'm sure if I went, less people, more garbage lying around. It is what it is. But again, you see that snowball effect. And those people that quit their jobs get fired. What happens? That's going to affect the local economy and it starts to branch out. That has been proven over and over and over again. And I'm tired of saying that when it comes to immigration, and you're going to feel the pinch. Now, August 1st is the deadline for the tariffs, right? I've always said, give it a couple of months and you'll start seeing prices go up. We're already seeing prices go up. But 2 months after the tariffs, September and October, you're going to see it. And guess what? About the third month, you're going to feel it. So be prepared for all this. Now's not the time to go crazy. I've used me as an example all the time. I wanted to get an RV carport, just one for the. I was going to maybe not side by side, maybe two different places, but that was going to be close to around $9,000-10,000 with tariffs and all that. Am I about to get 10 grand into debt? No. Eventually, I'll make a carport myself out of wood, and we'll see what happens with the rest. Today's not the day for me to drop 10 grand because I don't want to get in more debt right now. Not going to do it. So those are little things you're going to have to take care of, or little steps that you're going to have to prepare for to figure out where to cut to make sure that you are prepared. Because as of right now, and all this talk about tariffs and all the misinformation coming from the Trump White House and everything else, the reality is no global credible financial firm is saying, oh yeah, we need more tariffs. They're not saying that. And so while people are busy watching whatever mainstream media they're listening to, or whatever podcaster, and that's the direction that they go, I'm going to say it again and again and again. Listen to the financial firms. Listen to the global economic experts. Right now, the range for tariffs are anywhere from 30 to 50% of the tariffs causing a recession. Those are not good odds. Those are not good odds at all. And when we see what happens come August 1st, if these tariffs have not been resolved, which, by the way, I'm going to close with that. Lutnick is now saying you're going to see so many deals in 2 weeks. I mean, this guy is carnival barker as well. You're going to see more deals in 2 weeks. This and that. I've already given the hypothetical. If you give a divorce lawyer, a civil lawyer, any type of lawyer, give them 90 cases to mediate in 90 days, they can't do it. Some cases are just not going to settle. Some cases are going to have to go to trial. And this is just simple 20, 30-page agreements, right? What about something affecting the global economy between two different countries? What do you think? Those agreements are done in 10 pages or less, or 5 bullet points and we're done? These are extremely complex negotiations. So to say that 90 we're going to get done in 90 days is BS. We've had one, I think two, maybe South Korea was it for a while, and then they pulled out the rug. Why? Because apparently Trump did, from what I read, what he always does. He has a deal, and then he walks in at the last second and says, I don't like that deal. Here's a new deal. And now you have the choice to accept which deal. And that's basically what they did. And so that took that trade deal off the table. So to think that now we're going to do 88, 89 trade deals in 2 weeks, it simply cannot be done, which means the tariffs will kick in August 1st unless Taco, and there's another extension. But if all stays the same and he'll reduce, I wouldn't be surprised if we go from 30% now to 10. Still not good for the economy. You're going to feel it within a couple of months. I'll say if it goes down to 10%, then, let's stretch it out by a month or two. But there's no denying when you're paying 10% more for everything, unless you make 10% more in income, this is the math that's not difficult to do. Unless you're making 10% more in income, that 10% comes out of your pocket and you're going to feel it one way or another. And with the green renewables, I'll post a blog in there where I talk about how that's going to affect our pocketbooks, and it's a breakdown on the average per state on what you can expect. All right. Take care, everybody. It's the beginning of the week. I wish everybody a good week. I hope I have awesome financial news to give you, but I got to be honest. Take care, everybody.